Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to our board meeting tonight. We are heading to closed session, but we're here to listen to the public for public comment. For our closed session, we have 4 items that we will be discussing.
Sesión cerrada.
The first item is conference with legal counsel regarding existing and pending litigation. Second item is conference with legal counsel, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. Third is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. And fourth is WCC negotiators, conference with labor negotiators. Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment.
Wonderful. We'll be back out for our open session at 6:30 p.m. Thank you so much. Good evening. I would like to welcome all of you to our board meeting tonight. Public comment has recently changed. The public will have 3 different opportunities to address the board. The public can address the board during regular public comment at the beginning of the meeting, before an action item, or before a discussion item. The public can provide public comment in person, through the Zoom app, and by telephone. Public comment will last approximately 60 minutes. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. If you are attending the meeting in person, you will need to submit a request to address the board form to indicate your desire to speak during public comment on an agenda item, or non-agenda item, before the item begins on the agenda item. If participating via Zoom, you will need to raise your hand by clicking on the appropriate icon in the Zoom app, or by pressing *9 if accessing the meeting by phone. No yielding of time or substitution of speakers is permitted. The public will have an opportunity to make public comment on agenda items after the staff presentations for each discussion and action item as well. The time allotted for public comment on each action or discussion items are 10 minutes and 1 minute per speaker. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Now, let's move to our opening procedures. If Eric could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we're moving to our land acknowledgement. We recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chochenyo, Muwekma, Karkin, Ohlone peoples, and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. Dr. Hurst, can you please do roll call?
Absolutely. President Gonzalez-Hoy.
Present.
Trustee Clerk Smith-Folds.
Good evening, everyone. Present.
Trustee Reckler.
Good evening to everyone. I'm present.
Trustee Phillips. Noted that he is absent. Trustee Christian.
Good evening, President.
Student Trustee Cypressert.
Good evening, present.
Student Trustee Callip is absent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anything to report from closed session?
Absolutely. Item number A21 in closed session. The board, by a 4-to-1 majority vote, instructed District Council to settle the matter in reference to Jewel Labs, Atria Group Incorporated, marketing, sales practices and products, liability litigation, Federal District Court for the Northern District of California, case number 319 MD 02913 WHO, as against Altria Group Incorporated, related subsidiaries, companies, and officers. Also employees, directors, and board members, and others up to the stipulated amount. The members voted as follows. Trustee Smith-Folds, yes. Trustee Reckler, yes. Trustee Christian, yes. President Gonzalez-Hoy, yes. Absent Trustee Phillips. Also, item number A22, a majority of the board voted 3 yeses, 1 abstention, 1 absence to approve a settlement agreement with employee ID 118526 to resolve the matter of the dismissal of a permanent classified employee by placing the employee on paid administrative leave from October 23rd, 2023 to June 6, 2024. June 6, 2024 through June 30th, 2024, the employer will use her paid vacation bank. June 30th, 2024 will be the resignation date. That concludes my report out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Now we're gonna move to public comment. Do we have public comment tonight, Ms. Munoz?
Yes, we do. Our first public comment is Don Gosney.
Thank you. Good evening. Considering the 20 years I've spent working with the CBOC and the 10 years actually serving on the CBOC, I'm not sure that you'll find anyone that has more experience with the application process than I do. That's what this comment is about. In any case, let's just say that I've helped process well over 100 applications. As you know, there are 5 seats on the CBOC that are statutorily required. While that may have sounded prudent when Proposition 39 was drafted 23 years ago, the logistics in fulfilling those requirements are not quite cut and dried. The board can't get away from the requirements, but their interpretation of the implementation is something they do have control over. Let's take a look at 2 of those seats. The first is that one member shall be active in a business organization representing the business community located within the district. The second is that one member shall be active in an approved senior citizens organization. With both of those requirements, I challenge the board to publicly define what constitutes a business organization and an approved senior citizens organization here in West County. Here in West County, we have the Council of Industries, the Contra Costa Building and Construction Trades Council, and we have 4 chambers of commerce. With my recent application, it was determined that even though I own 2 businesses and have worked with the Building Trades Council, a business advocacy group, for the past 53 years, I failed to meet your criteria. Here in Richmond, where I live and where I operate my 2 businesses, the chamber only represents 182 businesses, perhaps 20% of the total number of businesses. As a sole proprietor, it would cost me $550 per year to be a member. And for that purpose, and for what purpose? The chamber would be of zero benefit to my businesses. And the building trades is similar to the chamber in that they promote building trades projects worth more than $1 billion per year here in West County. But that's not good enough for this board. Much of that work is actually for this very district. And for the seniors, with the exception of ARP, there is no senior organization. This board wants to push away applicants for those seats. Perhaps they should have a discussion vote on what satisfies your requirements so the public won't bother to waste their time and effort by applying when the criteria is secret. If you do, though, make sure your requirements are solid enough to pass muster with the public and the courts, because right now your selection process isn't looking so solid. Thank you very much.
Our next public comment is Rebecca D'Alessio. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Our next public comment is Kim Chamberlain.
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Chamberlain, President of the IFPTE Local 21 SSA chapter. We are coming up on a huge holiday season for all of our students and our faculty, our staff, our classified, our certificated. I would just like to encourage everyone to please continue using our students' independent study contracts. We have found that those have been extremely useful. I encourage parents and staff to continue to encourage students to do the work through them. We have found that they are very helpful and relieving a lot of the anxiety of students not getting their work accomplished while they're out, either for a cold or spending time with family that is very much needed. Also, please take into account, it is the holiday season. A lot of people need a little extra care, a hi, a smile. Please make sure that we all take that little extra time to just say and acknowledge, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with our students. And thank you for coming to work today. Thank you for coming to school today, student. It's very much appreciative. I personally am taking some time myself very, very soon. Thank goodness. And I'm going to be thankful because I'm going to be with my family. I appreciate that the district is taking the time to make sure that I have that ability to do that. And the students and staff in this district are taking that consideration. I appreciate everyone I work with, and I want to make sure that everyone knows that I think as an SSA member, as a district employee, that you all are doing a fantastic job. And students, thanks for showing up every day. Have a good week.
Our next public comment is Kirby Lynch.
All right, good evening, board. My name is Dr. Kirby Lynch, and I'm here not in any formal capacity, but I am a commissioner with the City of Richmond on the Economic Development Commission. And I'm here specifically trying to request resources for safety at sporting events, really trying to address the recent unfortunate events at the Kennedy Vallejo High School game. And so I just urge you all to prioritize safety at sporting events, especially as we navigate social life for, our students post-pandemic. Recent incidents highlight the need for action and, most importantly, a material investment in the safety of our youth. And so again, just trying to encourage that maybe at a future meeting we could agendize this, but some potential areas to investigate is in, one, how do we increase security? Boost security presence at events, especially when there are known community tensions, to deter misconduct and provide assistance when needed and rapidly and urgently. Two, how can we just provide conflict resolution training to the coaches, athletes, and spectators to promote sportsmanship and communication? And again, how can maybe we develop a spectator code, maybe enforce a clear code of conduct for spectators, emphasizing respectful behavior? And finally, collaboration. We need cross collaboration with leaders, community-based organizations, local law enforcement for coordinated safety measures. All of these actions will create a safer and more positive sports culture in the district. And so again, I'm just urging you all to prioritize this as an agenda, especially our student athletes' well-being and safety as a top priority. Thank you.
And our last public comment is Delon Harrison.
Good evening, board. I have a couple of concerns today. I just want to know, when we talk about parent leadership, I need the board to make sure that all parents are getting leadership support around things. I know we're in a budget, crunches here, but don't leave Black parents out because you don't have a federal law to address us. Do not do that. As y'all see, I will keep coming and I will bring more parents with me because we need to trust that you guys will think about us also. Because your budget is not balanced, don't balance it on our back. Don't balance it on our children's back. Our children deserve to have equal opportunity to education and resources, even in a district that has a budget issue. Ever since I've been in this district, it had a budget issue. I've never been in this district without it having a budget issue. So please do not use Black children and Black parents to figure out your budget. Please offer us the same opportunities that you're offering other parents to have leadership training and resources. Another thing, speaking of the budget, I would like to have a budget town hall and let's call together everybody that can get resources for our district. That means the city, the county, the state, parents, community members who can bring some money into our district and help us instead of us always having a budget issue. We can talk about a educational gap issue, how the children are not learning all, and we have a race in that educational gap. So please, let's look at the budget solution together. Let's look at it as a community and let's address it as a community because it's not just the board, it's not just the superintendent. The superintendent inherited a deficit district. So let's get this together and let's start educating all kids and including all parents in the solution. Thank you. I'm complete.
Next public comment is Maisha Harris Gash. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. So first and foremost, please continue to give my principal, Miss McGee, all the supports needed for her to be successful, and therefore Kennedy will be successful. Also, so this is just my observation after some of my students came to me this week. And so we haven't had box water on campus this week. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a blind band thing. I don't know if it's just a Kennedy thing. I don't know. So I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. Just kind of like my kids are coming to me. So they're getting cups to get water from the dispensers. Now, Kennedy has what, 850, 900 kids. We have, I don't know how many dispensers around school, but that's going to be a challenge. Also, I see kids out of class because they need water. And then when those cups that they throw away, they don't have it, then they're asking teachers or whomever for cups to get water. So what I have known is for our young people to use those box waters as reusable cups in essence, because everybody doesn't have a reusable, water bottle. I know on staff that some of us have purged our cupboards and things like that and brought reusable water bottles to give to our students since we've been back from COVID. I know that I have my alum, they donate cases of water to my classroom because I know kids need water as well. So I didn't tell my principal because she got 50 million things on her plate to do. So my apologies, Miss McGee, if you're listening, just my observation. And then finally, I am so happy to see in the agenda that my district that raised me is in partnership with my alum, my alma mater, of San Jose State University around teachers. So I'm so super excited about that. Just had homecoming the other weekend. So it's just, college was some of the best days of my life. And I tell all the kids, you might want to try it just 1 year to see how you really feel about it. So go Spartans, and I'm so happy.
Next public comment is Rebecca D'Alessio. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca D'Alessio. I teach at Dijon Middle School and at Kennedy High School. I would like to thank the district for providing Promethean boards. The teachers at Dijon are very excited for the possible, hopefully, impending purchase of Promethean boards for a number of sites in the district. We use them all the time. It really helps with student engagement and student learning. So thank you for doing that. Thank you to Lori Roberts for her work on this. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who made public comment tonight. We are now moving to our next item. We had a request to address the board by Alamo Brown. Mr. Brown is allocated 5 minutes to address us. Mr. Brown, you're welcome to come up and we'll start the timer whenever you're ready.
Great. Before you clock, I just want to do something on behalf of Coach Greg Marshall here, who's been an outstanding pillar within the sector of our community. So if I can take maybe 10 seconds and give him his flowers while he's still alive. This is an award on behalf of Soulful Softball Sunday, a community organization that I founded within the sector of Richmond, California. And we want to just give him his flowers for the outstanding job he's doing at Kennedy High School. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm Rodney Alamo Brown, the community advocate here in the city of Richmond, California. And I wanted to address the board this
Mr. Brown?
evening.
Oh,
Yes.
Just President Gonzalez Hoyt. Is it possible for us to take a picture with Coach Greg as a board?
It was not agendized, so that's my only concern. But if there's no objections, after Mr. Brown speaks, why don't we go down and take a quick picture?
That would be good.
Are there any objections? Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it possible I can get my 13 seconds back?
Yes, let's restart his time, please.
Appreciate you. Again, I'm Rodney Alamo Brown, a community advocate here in the city of Richmond, California. You know, Huey P. Newton once said, There's no reason for the establishment to fear me, but you have a reason to fear the people. I am one of the people. What I'm talking about tonight is something that really shouldn't have taken place, but unfortunately it did take place, and I'm talking about the Kennedy High School versus Vallejo football game in the city of Vallejo, California. There was numerous issues pertaining to security dealing with this situation. Now, Mr. Marshall here did what we call the right thing. It may not have been the right thing in the eyes of some people, but he did the right thing moving children to safety. The minute Mr. Marshall moved the children to safety and got them on the bus, 3 gunshots rang out. Pop, pop, pop. Although those shots were not aimed at the school bus, but the simple fact that it did occur. Now, I want to say thank you to Mr. Merriweather, who did come to the actual game during the aftermath of the carnage or melee that took place with the players from both Kennedy and Vallejo High School. He showed up. However, despite what happened on the field, we're talking about safety issues concerning our babies. Now, with Mr. Marshall here, the pillar in our community, who we just gave our roses and flowers to while he's still alive, should be canonized as a saint. The reason why I say that is this young man has spent over $10,000 of his own money this year for the football team to have a team. He's also spent $1,200 this month alone for children to get safely to and from school because they cannot walk the streets of Richmond. Now, let me give you some historical background on our city. There's been 1,075 people who look like me and everybody behind me die on the streets of Richmond, California. There was such a thing called HIV. No, not the sexual transmitted disease. I'm talking about the hood infected virus. If you don't clear the hood infected virus, it turns to AIDS, addictive incarceration death syndrome. Now, I don't know if anybody considered after the game was over with the residual disparities that happened to the youth who are on the football team. And I'm talking about the vicarious traumas that run through their body. 89% of the players on this team are SPED students. They have IEPs and 504s. But beyond the scope of the academia, let's talk about their social and emotional well-being. This man has not been able to come back on campus because of this alleged suspension or this alleged administrative leave that he was placed on. Under what grounds? We asked, how was that even levied when someone within a sector of your school district leaked out a text stipulating that we are getting rid of Coach Greg Marshall without due process even taking place? So you ask, how did we get here? Why are we even here? How did this even happen? You got to think about the children. You got to think about those children that I'm talking about whose relatives are included in that 1,065 people that died in the city of Richmond, California. The residual damage is still running through the veins and the blood of those children. When do we consider the children? When are we going to start considering the children? Now listen, Jesse Bethel, as well as Deanza, have a football game this Friday in the city of Vallejo. I hope and pray that you all come up with a comprehensive plan so this doesn't happen again. Remember those 30 young men that came and women that came last week and you marched them up and you did the photo op and you took the picture, and I'm not disrespecting nobody that's a campus school safety officer, but them same 30 should have been in Vallejo when that incident occurred. Let's keep it 100. Now, I'm not mad at nobody. I'm not here to berate nobody. I'm not here to disrespect nobody. That's not how I get down. But what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And you guys are treating this man justly unfair on bogus claims that don't even add up to what you said he did. When do we stop scapegoating individuals within the sector of our district? When do we stop making a pillar of our community look like a fool? Because that's what you did. How many of you guys been a Greek counselor or any Greek counselors that's come up to Kennedy since this incident has occurred? But wait a second, you were at the game on Friday for the homecoming game at Kennedy High School. Yeah, you were there. Numerous of you on that board was there and the staff. See, the damage control and then the residual effects has already been done. We got to be preventative. We can't be Monday morning quarterbacking. We can't take the time to say, oh, well, we got to show up now. Alamo Brown went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on us, so we got to go do damage control so we don't look bad.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Marshall, if you could just hold on 1 second, we're gonna come down and take a picture with you and your award, if that's okay. Adoption. Without objections, we will adopt the agenda. Okay, so adopted. Now we're gonna move to our consent items. Or are there any consent items anyone would like to pull? Trustee Reckler?
Yes, thank you. From C8, contracts only BACR for Downer Elementary. And on C9, approval of fundraising activities only Highland PTA.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others? Trustee Phillips?
I don't necessarily want to pull the item, but I am a little confused. And maybe I could get clarity and that will help me determine what to do. But for 14, am I
Yes.
misunderstanding? It's on here for approval.
Yes, I think that what Mr. Gosney was raising was that he was approved as an at-large position, not as the business position. So that's what his objection was, that he's being approved, but for not what he had originally applied for under.
But it's still for him to be on the body, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
the clarity.
Okay, good. So you don't need to pull it.
I don't.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, without objection, we will approve the rest of the consent with C8, the BSCR contract, and C9, the Highland PTA fundraising pulled. Okay, so adopted. Thank you. Now we're gonna move to the superintendent communication. Dr. Hurst, I'll pass to you.
Thank you. Can we pull up the report, please? And if we can go to our next slide. The district would like to take time to recognize the contributions of members of our school community who have passed away. We regret to inform you that Darlene Jones, retired Director of Special Education, recently passed away. She worked for the district for 37 years. We also regret to inform you that Barbara Bratton, retired food service aide at Lincoln Elementary, recently passed away. She worked for the district for 28 years, serving the students and community. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their family and friends during this difficult time. Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Can we go to our next slide, please? We're really excited to share with you, board, and the public that is watching some video content this week, festivities around Halloween. And I had the opportunity to go to several schools. This school that you're getting ready to watch is Kensington Hilltop Elementary. And they had the Cow Band come and perform. And you see the kids that are sitting around the periphery. So it's about 1 minute in length, and enjoy. So we'll let you play. And we apologize for the distortion in the sound, but that was the Cow Band at Kensington. And if we can go to our next slide. So here you're going to see Mira Vista, and this is actually the El Cerrito High School Band under leadership of Keith Johnson. And you'll also see some pictures in the next slide, but we want you to hear their performance as well. Thank you. And we're going to go to our next slide. And this is still at Mira Vista, and you can see the students in the background dressed up, listening to the band, but you also see band director Keith Johnson, principal Charlotte Betson as well, and myself. And then to the right, you see assistant principal Gregory Brooks, dressed up as Conan, I believe. Next slide. And here, this is Fairmont, and El Cerrito High School Band was actually going around to all the schools in the El Cerrito area. So this is them leaving the area, and then you see a student, Giovanni, who's posing with me at Fairmont as well. Next slide. And we're going to bypass this video since there's a lot of distortion in the sound. Next slide. So this is actually the trunk or treat, and this is at Pinole Middle and West County Mandarin School. You can see the mayor, Devin Murphy, posing with Guillermo, not Giovanni. He's posing with the mayor. And then you see one of my favorite trunk or treat decorated vehicles. This was actually a barbecue hot dog hamburger combination, and when you lift up the barbecue grill, you can see the tarantula that's being grilled as well. A lot of fun, a lot of activity at Pinole Middle and West County. Next slide. You could also see a community member, parent in the middle posing with me. That was one of my favorite ones, also the one on the left. And then also one of the favorite ones, I was actually a judge for this event, was the Barbie, which is on the far right. And they actually had a showcase where you can go inside the little showcase and take a picture as well. Next slide. And these pictures are actually sent to me. This is actually Hercules Trunk or Treat. And this is the mayor of Hercules, and we wanted to share with you this picture, and then in the middle, a student. I believe that maybe be a student of one of our trustees. Is that correct? Yes. And then also, one of my favorite pictures that was sent to me was this popcorn stand here on the far right. And again, this was at Hercules, and that's Mayor Alexander Walker Griffin. Next slide. And then also we wanted to conclude with some of our transition students. And then also you can see in the background some of our staff. And you can see one of my assistants as well, Genesis Munoz in the back with the red hair. So we wanted to point all of them out as well. Next slide. We also wanted to share with everyone that we have really been working hard for the strategic planning final stage. And again, thanking the planning team consisting of Trustee Smith Folds, Director Sanders, and CAO Neely Johnson, and myself, and a whole host of other people who've been very involved. And we've already had 2 virtual sessions, town halls. And we wanted to share with you this Challenge 2027 will allow us, in conjunction with the community, to really work together to create a strategic plan, an LCAP plan that will take us to 2027 so that we can design the schools our students deserve to become the leaders our world needs. Next slide. So we wanted to conclude just to share with you, we are wrapping up just the engagement process. Again, as I shared, we had 2 town hall meetings, and then tomorrow we have a student summit beginning at 9:30, going through 11:30. And then also we have tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be a town hall in person at Richmond High School. So we wanted to encourage all who have not been involved to come to Richmond High School to participate. And that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Board, does anyone have any questions on the superintendent report? Trustee Phillips?
Thank you very much. So my first question is, how do we get more college bands to come to our campuses and do these concerts? Because that is fantastic. Before you got here, Grambling, they came down and they were at Kennedy a few years ago and they were doing it on the football field. And I took my kids. So it's just a great experience. So how do we collectively, right, do more of that? And it sends the right message, right? The music, and then go to college, and it's just.
Yeah, I think, sir, I think that's just outreach and relationships and connections. You mentioned Grambling, and I believe there's probably people here that's connected to universities that we can do some outreach and probably start that conversation with the principals in our principal meeting as well. So I know that Ms. Neely Johnson is listening. So we'll take that note and we'll take it back to the principals and see what we can do for next time around. And in the future, doesn't just have to be Halloween.
Grambling wasn't Halloween, but it was hot.
Okay.
So, you know, and then the second question is not, I'm not asking you to answer it right now, but it's related to the designing the schools and the parents' place in the designing of the schools and participating. So, my question, and it's not for right now, but it's related to that. It sounded like Zavon Harrison was saying in public comment that Black parents are being excluded from leadership training. So what was she talking about? And I'm not asking you to answer that right now, but I'm connecting it to this whole thing around designing the schools that we want, and I'm assuming that includes parent participation. And those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips. Does anyone else have questions? I do have one question. I want to know whether Ms. Munoz's Halloween costume was, since we only got to see the wig. I'm messing with you. I can ask you later, but it looked really great.
It was the nun.
Oh, okay. It's Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, we figured it out. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, we're gonna move to our first action item for the night, E1, which is the purchase of Promethean active panels for 9 schools. This is phase 2 of 4. And Ms. Logan, I believe, and Ms. Roberts, I'll pass it on to you. And then if you could just press the little face button. Thank you.
President Gonzalez-Soy, I have a point of order.
Yes.
In the chat, I don't know if it already got added, but they're asking for interpretation to be added.
It was added.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, board, colleagues, community. I am excited to be here this evening to present to you our second Promethean panel proposal of the year. So at this point, we came to you in the spring after we had concluded our pilot of various different technologies with a recommendation of moving to Promethean panels on wheels in our classrooms. At that time, it was approved and we have deployed to 15 schools. so far. I'm checking for accuracy, about 15 schools. And what I'm bringing to you this evening is a proposal to roll out to another 9 schools. These 9 schools, as Ms. Roberts will tell you about in more detail, have actually demonstrated readiness and are excited and ready to move on to full deployment. All of our schools currently have at least 3 Promethean panels on wheels that they are trying out, piloting, getting comfortable with, and readiness is a key criteria for us in order to move to the entire site so that we can really ensure that teachers are supported and ready to fully adopt. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Roberts, who has been leading this work in our district. Thank you.
Good evening, board and community. I am honestly thrilled to be here to give you an update about our Promethean Active Panel rollout. Oops. Yeah. So a lot has happened since the last time I was here. I was here in June, and I'm going to give you a quick summary. There's a lot more information here on this slide, but in August, 428 active panels were deployed to 44 sites. We went from 17 schools with active panels to 49 schools. Before school started, we held an online Promethean basics training and over 400 teachers attended. There's a lot of excitement about this right now, and we want to continue with this rollout. So our pilot went so well last year with a lot of teacher and student excitement and engagement that we decided to replicate it on a grander scale because go big or go home, right? Because we have more piloting sites and would like to keep the rollout at a manageable pace, we are planning rollouts for this month in February and lastly during the summer of 2024. We have greatly involved our amazing technology teacher leaders who are the most vital piece of this puzzle. They are not only evangelists for the use of the active panels, but also hyper-organized and communicative change agents. This time around, we've asked them to gather more information before their site is considered for 100% deployment. So again, there's a lot more information. There's a lot of information on these slides. I'm just trying to give you a summary and a little more information. Based on last year's feedback, we've made some important decisions about equipping our teachers with not only a state-of-the-art interactive whiteboard, but also the skills and support needed to use this great piece of classroom technology. So in summary, we have held a 2-day tech teacher leader retreat with an entire day dedicated to active panels. We work closely with our Promethean education consultant. Her name is Grace Kelly. She's actually a former WCC USD teacher who is now hired by Promethean. She is working exclusively with our district, and she provides training twice a month, weekly office hours, and she coaches at sites. We continue to support our TTLs in various collaborative ways, and we systematize the next deployment. So our 100% active panel sites have been very busy. 80% of teachers at these sites are using the active panels at least 60% of each day. Now, what I'd like to explain about this data is that that is data for just using the active panel. We have also purchased, and that's attached to the back of the active panel, a Chromebox, which makes the active panel itself its own system. This data is just for the use of the active panel, so we are actually considering that this is probably a much higher number. I'm not going to read all of these to you, so I'll give you a moment to go ahead and read through those student comments, but I do want to shout out one of them. So shout out to the Hercules Middle 6th grader for pointing out that an active panel means less whiteboard pen waste. Really forward thinking on that one. I love that. So this is data from our current pilot teachers. We had 265 responses, which means that since August 15th, 265 teachers have used the active panel in their classrooms. And as you can see, it's close to 75%. So again, I just want to point out that there is one comment here about a teacher at Shannon who used the active panel for parent conferences, which I think is really impressive. So we have 9 sites who have jumped through all the hoops, and that is really, I need to shout out to our technology teacher leaders who did a lot of this work. Basically, 75% of their teachers have used the active panel and given feedback. All of their teachers have completed the DocCam RedCat inventory form, which we realized we needed to have them complete that so it could be set up with the active panels. Their principal has completed the active panel full deployment readiness form. They've worked with Grace, our Promethean education consultant, to come up with a plan, and they've created a post-session evaluation so that they can use feedback to improve. So we are proposing the purchase of 138 active panels to complete the inventory of these schools: Dijon, Ellerhorst, Fairmont, Hannah Ranch, Helms, Shannon, Stewart, Valley View, and West County Mandarin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we have one public comment. Ms. Denise Steen from Collins, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, President Gonzalez-Hoy, Board Trustees, Dr. Hurst. This is Denise Steen speaking to you as principal of Collins Elementary School. That last slide was my kindergarten class, and they all wrote their names on the board, just as an example. Collins was lucky to pilot 3 Promethean boards last year and rotated those boards through the classrooms, with most teachers saying, "When's it my turn?" This year, all classrooms, preschool through 6th grade, resource and special education, all have boards in their classrooms. I can attest to and confirm that the teachers are using these boards daily, all day, and the students are loving them. They can come to the board, work through problems right on the board. They're interactive, large screens that captivate the students' attention and allow the students to participate in new ways. I see agendas, writing prompts, examples, math problems, and our online applications projected so that even the least engaged student can and do participate. We are in the 21st century. These boards should be in all classrooms across the district. Just as IT provided support and training that rolled out tablets to all students, these boards are the next best tool for student engagement. We've been trained, there's
Thank you so much.
training, and teachers need this resource. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next public comment is Annabelle Lim. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Annabelle from I'm a parent of a kindergartner from West County Mandarin. My kid just entered kindergarten in August, and I think sometime in September he came home and told me about these interactive boards that he really enjoyed learning. And from then on, he came back with so much information that he has been learning from the Promethean board because it's so interactive and engaging. He learned his shapes and his alphabets, which I have not been teaching him from these boards. And I think these boards are very engaging and effective in teaching and learning experience for the modern classrooms. And I hope all of teachers can be equipped with this to help prepare our students for the digital age and fostering 21st century skills. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Cindy Danita. Please unmute yourself.
Hi there, my name is Cindy Tanita, and I am a parent of a child in TK at Lupine Hills Elementary, as well as a child in first grade at West County Mandarin School. So I actually didn't know about these boards until I was volunteering in the classroom at Lupine, and I saw the teachers using this fantastic, amazing board that's so versatile and eco-friendly. Don't have to use these expo markers, not messy, quick to change between screens, and quick to go to interactive like writing on them. Just very, very efficient type technology. And I thought, wow, like this is amazing. Like it's amazing that the school has it. So I am also supportive of these boards coming to West County Mandarin School. It would be an amazing tool for the students to all have. Thank you very much.
Our next public comment is Alon Harrison. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I wanted to know, are these boards at Stige, and does Stige have those? Because they have a high Black population there, and I think that would be something good. And another thing I wanted to know, can you interact with these boards from a tablet? Like, so if the child is not at school, can the child participate in a lesson from a different device if the teacher is teaching something? Just a question. Thank you, I'm complete.
Thank you, everybody who made public comment. We are now going to move to questions from the board. Does anybody have questions for our Ms. Roberts and Ms. Logan? Trustee Phillips, we'll start with you. 3 questions, please.
Thank you very much. Can you remind people which 15 schools got them and which 9 schools are going to get them? Because I'm sure there are equity questions about this, which we just heard one.
Sure. So the schools that currently have them school-wide are Collins, Ford, Grant, Harding, Lupine, Perry's, Sheldon, Riverside, De Anza, Hercules Middle, Hercules High, Kennedy, Soskin, Chavez, Lincoln, Montalvan, and Verde. And then the 9 to get them are Dijon, Ellerhorst, Fairmont, Hannah Ranch, Helms, Shannon, Stewart, Valley View, and West County Mandarin. So on top of those that I just named, all of our schools have at least a handful of the boards on wheels that they're rotating around for teachers to try. And all of our schools will eventually, over the next year, get boards.
Thank you. My next question is to Dr. Hurst. Dr. Hurst, that list that was just read to us, although all of our schools basically have a certain amount of diversity, but they are overwhelmingly suburban schools out of the list that I just heard. I didn't write them down, but that's what I heard. So what can we do? And I get it that eventually everybody is going to get, but what can we do, Dr. Hurst, to make sure that, I think you heard it the same way because you started smiling as soon as the list was being read. What can we do to make sure that out of 15 plus 9, that the first 24 are actually distributed I'm just going to say more equitably?
So I first will say that I started smiling because I was looking across this way and I knew kind of what you were thinking. I will say when I listened to the list, I certainly heard in the first portion of the schools, a lot of schools in this area, what we would consider the flats. And I heard even in the second round of schools, the 9, I heard a mix. I don't know even if you, Ms. Logan, could share with us the breakdown of what the criteria is for schools to get those Promethean boards. And then also just taking consideration Trustee Phillips' question, just thinking about the future and what we can do. But it did seem to me that there was equity as I was listening to the list.
Can, before you start,
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, I heard schools here. For example, I heard Lincoln, I heard Chavez, I heard schools here. What I'm really getting at is based on where the majority of our schools are, the majority of our schools are not in the suburban outlying areas. But I was doing mental math and I felt like well over half of the schools over the list were in the suburban outlying areas. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't get to everybody. I'm just saying as the rollout happens, how do we make sure that it's proportionate?
So thank you for the question. And what you're saying is important. So I think a couple things. One is that I want to go back and do the math and make sure that we are being very thoughtful about an equitable distribution and that we're providing the support to schools, to all of our schools, but differentiated support for schools to get ready who aren't ready yet. And really working with our Promethean consultant to designate her time to provide that kind of support to our schools that need it so that we can make sure it is an equitable rollout. So I think that's one piece, doing the math, make sure we're providing differentiated support. And we have another rollout. So our timeline would be, we would come back to you in January, February for the next phase of rollout. So my commitment would be to make sure that we invest the time between now and then to support our schools so that it is a more equitably distributed list.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. Clerk Smith Foltz.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. My question is around professional development with the boards. Do we give professional development to, let's say, long-term subs? And if we don't give professional development about how to use the boards to long-term subs, is there a one-pager, something that they can have a quick reference sheet to be able to use the Promethean boards and sites that they're at? And that one-pager, would it then turn around and be available for day subs, right? I'm just subbing your class for a day, but I want you to keep your routine. If you do the morning welcome song on the Promethean board, I want to make sure that you still do that because consistency is very important for all learners, especially our youngest. I'm complete.
Thank you for that question. Actually, our Promethean education consultant just put up on our website something about, it was a one-pager on what if there's a sub. And actually, we were really inspired by a teacher at Peary's who has one of her second graders, she has a job for them, and they are to help the sub or to help the teacher with the active panel.
Thank you so much. That's great. Dr. Hurst, my second question. Don't you agree that that's a great strategy?
I do.
Thank you very much. My last and final question is that around clarification. Just hear me out and see if I have it right. For you, every school has a handful of Promethean boards that they share around the site to get used to it, to get ready to use it, to be ready for the full rollout of that site. To get ready to have the full rollout, there's a set of criteria that you have to meet to make sure that when these Promethean boards go into the school, that they are fully engaged and used at the site. Are those two statements correct?
100%.
Thank you. I'm complete.
And I will just add to that in saying that that's correct, to say that part of our design for readiness and implementation is to make sure we're not just providing resources that sit there and aren't used. So we're trying to be very slow and methodical and provide the resources, the support, the one pagers, et cetera, so that teachers are really able to use the resource so that students maximally benefit.
Thank you. Board, now let's move to a motion. Would anyone like to make a motion on this item?
I move the purchase of Promethean active panels for 9 schools.
Second.
Thank you. Does anybody have any comments tonight? Okay, can we please put up a 2-minute timer? And Trustee Phillips, you're the only one with your hand up, so you can start whenever you're ready.
So I'm looking back at this first list. And this is just kind of reiterating what I was saying earlier. So I see Ford, I see Grant, I see Perry's, Kennedy, Chavez, and Lincoln. That's 6. And then in the agenda packet, I see listed Dejan, Helms, that's 8. So, for me, those are schools that I would all consider, and I'm not trying to, I'm just using the terminology that you use. Those are all schools that I would consider quote unquote flatland schools. That's 8. But we're talking about 24. And so I'm going to vote for this evening because I think that having the Promethean boards are good. But I think that this rollout is not happening proportionately. And I think that it needs to be corrected. And I understand that staff in the next phase is going to do its best to make sure that that happens. But this is reminding me of the bond program where all the schools had to wait, and then they just, please correct this.
Thank you. Clerk Smith Folds?
Dr. Hurst, my comments are to you. I think that there are equity issues in this district. We know that. I think that when we create programs, policies, procedures, we always have to look through the equity lens. I agree with that. I also think that we need to make sure that we're clear with our narrative. So if this Promethean rollout, or if the boards go to sites based on a criteria, then that criteria has to be met. But that doesn't mean we don't support those schools in all areas that are not meeting the criteria to a timeline. So what I would think is if we're doing a rollout, then we create a timeline, right? All sites will have the boards by, or we will try to ensure that boards are rolling out, by a time. And with that time, we turn around and continue to do what I believe you guys are doing, which is supporting those schools to get to that criteria met, that point of meeting the criteria. That's what I'm hearing, is that they're working to ensure that the schools have the criteria to get the Promethean boards. And one of the ways you address equity is putting boards in every school. That's what I think I heard also. So I want to make sure that we don't skip over that part, but we do listen to the concern about equity, and then turn around and have strategies to meet those concerns. But I don't want it to go past is that we did put boards in every school, so every child will have an introduction to what's coming. And then when we start rolling programs out, we continue to look through that equity lens and make sure that we're providing the support and the resources needed to get everybody to that point as fast as possible. I'm complete.
Thank you. Well, for my comments, first, I just want to start by thanking Ms. Roberts, Ms. Logan, your department for doing this work. I want to thank our TTLs who are doing work every day to support teachers in the schools to do the transition and do it well. I agree with Clerk Smith-Folds from talking to people at the sites. Not everybody's ready for 100% rollout. So this is happening in a really thought out way. So I actually really appreciate it. I think that we should look at equity. I disagree per se with the list that Trustee Phillips shared, but I think that we should look at all our decisions with equity. I do think that in the first list, there were more flatland schools that were mentioned. I think that maybe the criteria on what that is may be different for certain board members. But I think that the initial push was really thought out, and I do think there was equity behind it. So I don't want us to leave with anyone saying that there wasn't, because I actually disagree. And I think that there was very much equity in mind when that was started. That's my opinion. That's different than maybe others up here. But I think that as we do the rollout, maybe the support piece with TTLs at schools with the highest needs, that has to be maybe the focus. Maybe that's already it. But I also know that it's all very dependent on the administrator and the TTLs and how are they obviously training and supporting the teachers at the site. So I'm really curious to hear more about that. I will say that I think as I go to schools, everybody wants more Promethean boards, which is really exciting. That I think that reinforces the decision that you all made and that we are making in this investment. Everybody seems really excited for this technology, from our students to our administrators. So I'm really excited to continue to hear this and see this. And thank you both and your department for this push. I appreciate it. Okay, board, now we're gonna move to our voting. We'll start with Trustee Cypress. And again, we're voting on the approval for the purchase of the Promethean boards for the 9 schools mentioned on the agenda.
Cypress, yes.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds.
Smith-Folds, yes.
Thank you, Trustee Christian.
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
Thank you, Trustee Phillips.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna move to our second action item, which is E2. This is the adoption of resolution number 2324-38. Mr. Freeze, I believe this is your item. I'll pass it to you.
Yes, yes, if you could enable screen sharing for me. Yes, so tonight we're asking the board to adopt resolution 2324-38, designating specific materials, products, things, or services for the use of public works projects pursuant to Public Contract Code 3400. On October 21, 2020, the board adopted resolution 43-2021, designating specific materials, products, things, or services for the use of public works projects pursuant to the Public Contract Code. Staff recommends the proposed red line updates of the previous designated products to align with model references to the current market and remove some of the listed items that no longer meet the criteria. And I can share that list with you. For the product and materials attached Exhibit A, this is how the items were listed. And the changes we made were red line versions. You can see here that we had changed such products as our HVAC systems, the EMS and BackTalk, BackNet. Let's scroll down. Some of the wireless items that we had for IT. Cisco was a name change to the 7800 series. Just updates. We changed our wireless access points from Cisco to Juniper. Realign the, let's see here, sorry about that. network cabinets to APC.
Mr. Fraser,
Yes.
could you please zoom in?
Yes, let's see here.
I mean, I think it'll still be hard to read, but at least
How's
it'll
that?
be a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay. For our access control and video surveillance, we used to have Genetec for both video surveillance and access control. We've now split that for video surveillance through Verkada for our cameras. We've changed for the irrigation controllers. There was just a model change to the DX1. And for Bogan, our PA systems, they've upgraded to the new standard, which is the NIQuest system. And so those are the changes that we've made to the standard. And we're asking you to approve the resolution this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Our first public comment is Salon Harrison. Please unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a comment. I apologize. That was from last time.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thank you. Okay, board, does anyone have any questions on this item? Okay, would anyone like to do a resolution? Please, excuse me, make a motion?
I move the adoption of resolution number 2324-38, designating specific materials, products, things, or services for use on public works projects pursuant to the Public Contract Code, section 3400.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There's a second. Thank you. Does anyone have any comments on this item? Okay, let's move to a vote. We'll start with trustee Cypress.
Cypress, yes.
And clerk Smith Folds,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Christian,
Yes.
trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
trustee Phillips,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Okay, we're gonna move to our last action item. I apologize, everyone. I actually have a little script to read. The next item on the agenda is an adoption of our previous discussion and possible approval for the Second Amendment to the April 14th, 2021 contract of employment with the superintendent, Dr. Chris Hurst. The board previously approved the Second Amendment to Dr. Hurst's employment agreement at our August 23rd, 2023 meeting. During that meeting, the board requested additional language to be added to the Second Amendment relating to the extension of Dr. Hurst's employment agreement based on an exemplary rating. The board we have placed this item on tonight's agenda to clarify and finalize the language of the previously approved Second Amendment, just so that we could all see it before it gets actually signed. The proposed clarification states, I'm gonna read as follows. If the superintendent receives an exemplary rating pursuant to the superintendent's annual evaluation, the board shall place on its agenda an action item to extend the term of this agreement by 1 year. No other terms of the Second Amendment have been changed. That concludes the summary of the changes to the superintendent's agreement. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Great. Board, does anyone have any questions? Trustee Reckler?
Thank you. I do have a related question. Last year, the board appointed a subcommittee to define a rubric of what was exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, and unsatisfactory. Since the goals and metrics have possibly shifted, I haven't looked back at what was approved versus what the metric, the rubric is there going to be an opportunity to realign those documents so that the goals and the rubric match and we understand what exemplary is, what proficient is, what needs improvement is, and what unsatisfactory is?
That's a really good question. As of right now, no. But I'll look back at our documents. We are still basing it as of what we had last year or last time. So I will have to look at our documents and see. I believe there would have to be a realignment. So let me look back, and then if we do, then I'll get back to the board. Yeah, Dr. Hurst, would you like to add anything?
Yes, just to let the board know that in communicating with Dr. Lovely, she is planning to bring the board back together to have that conversation because she realizes that that needs to happen, that we really need to look at the rubric moving forward based on the goals for this year.
Thank you, Dr. Hurst. Hope that answers your question. Trustee Reckler, you have another?
Yeah, I do have another question, which is what is the timeline on that?
We will get back to you.
Is it going to be May?
As I mentioned, I don't know, so we'll have to get back to you on that one. Hopefully not May. Any other questions? Okay. Board, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move the consideration of approval of Second Amendment to Superintendent Employee Agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second. Are there any comments on this item? And I'll just remind us that just watch your comments because it's a closed session item as well. Go ahead, Clerk Smith-Folds. I think you're the only one.
I think this is a really important item because it sets a standard of what we are trying to create in the district, which is exemplary movement from here on out. We are setting ourselves up to create high standards, and I think that that's a good thing. I think that it never does well to have hidden expectations. So as long as we're putting it in writing and everybody is transparent and clear, then we can hold our only employee accountable, but the public can hold us accountable to what we want to have as a visionary district. So I think more things should be in writing. I think this is a good thing. So thank you very much. I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Let's move to our vote. Trustee Cypress, what's up with you?
Cypress, yes.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds.
Smith-Folds, yes.
Trustee Christian?
Yes.
Trustee Reckler?
Reckler, yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we're gonna go back to the items that we pulled from consent. First, it was C8 from contracts, specifically just the Trustee Reckler, you pulled out the BACR, right?
Yes, hang on with me just 1 second so I can. Okay, so on the BACR Downer Elementary contract, the summary of service states that the JMP's goals, program's goals to strengthen student engagement and positive school climate meet the program criteria selected above, both for in-school and during school closure. JMP provides and on and on and on about the JMP, Culture Keepers, Youth ELAC. So this is actually an El Cerrito High School program. So my question is this item just mistaken and is it for El Cerrito High School? Or is El Cerrito High School's JMP somehow wrapped up in Downer and is delivering services?
Good evening, Trustee Reckler. Thank you for your question. According to Mary Kitchen and the vetting form that we use for JMP, they are expanding. Their vetting form indicates that they were founded in 1998 as a school-based health center to serve El Cerrito High School community, the El Cerrito High School community, and that they are expanding to provide counseling services at some other WCCUSD schools.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
Trustee
that's all I
Reckler,
got.
would you like to move the item? It's okay if you don't.
Sure. So I'll go ahead and move BACR's Downer contract.
Smith-Folds seconds.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Are there any comments? Okay, let's move.
I
Sorry.
do have a comment, and that is
Go ahead.
just on a lot of these contracts. These are contracts from August. there are contracts in here from August, September, so we're at November 1st. So even though, you know, BACR has been around and is a trusted partner, the contract should better match when they come to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to our vote. We'll start with trustee Cypress Hart,
Cypress, yes.
clerk Smith Foltz,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Christian,
Yes.
trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
trustee Phillips,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Passed unanimously. Thank you. And now we're moving to C9. From C9, trustee Reckler, you pulled the Highland Elementary PTA fundraising. I'll pass to you.
Yeah, this is just really brief. I don't believe Highland has a PTA. I think that they have a PTO or a parent group. And so I'll go ahead and move the item, but just please check which organization is the sponsor of that particular item. And that's all.
Okay, I'll second that. Thank you, trustee Reckler. Okay, let's move to our vote. We'll start with trustee Cypress Hart,
Cypress, yes.
clerk Smith Foltz,
Smith Folds, yes.
trustee Christian,
Yes.
trustee Reckler,
Reckler, yes.
trustee Phillips,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we are moving to our last item, comments from the board. If we could put up a 3-minute timer up there, please. Does anyone feel like they need more than 3 minutes? Okay. Okay. Who would like to get started? Trustee Phillips, would you like to start?
My computer's about to die. I need to plug in my,
No problem. Why don't we pass to someone else in the meantime? Does anyone else have comments tonight? Okay, trustee Reckler, we'll go to you then. In the meantime,
Sorry, we just have to do a little shifting over here.
no worries.
Okay, so just a couple of things. The first one is that last Thursday I was down in Southern California with our group at the Community Engagement Initiative, and we talked and worked with other districts about community schools, and it was really a great day, just exchanging ideas. They actually didn't let us sit with our own people a little, we stalled and got together at lunch, and then there was some time at the end, but really working with other districts, and it was really very interesting just to hear what other districts are doing around community schools. And one of the big topics that really stuck with me was about data and, you know, like, what is your district collecting? How are they collecting it? How well are they collecting it? How are they sharing it? And do people understand it? So we are not the only district that is having that ongoing discussion. So I kind of felt like I found friends. So I was, it was good. It was a good day. And I guess we're going to have to do some alignment on what exactly this particular group is and how often I go, because I really took the day off and thought I was just filling in for trustee Smith Foltz. But all of a sudden I got all these invitations for all these other different things. And so we're just going to have to clarify what this particular group is and who is participating with what. So anyway, I would appreciate that. Okay, so that's that. And then for upcoming future items, I guess all the CBIDS data is in. And so about 1.5 years ago, we had a presentation on enrollment, transfers, who was going to charters. And so I'd like to re-up that discussion again, just to get an understanding of where everybody is within our jurisdiction and where they go to school. And what I would like included is homeschooling, because the Washington Post had an article with a district dashboard where you could plug in like how many kids you've got homeschooling in your district. And I'm not able to recall the number. It was like about 300 from this district, but I was just like, how does that get captured? We've never reported on it before. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Once again, just policy updates. The CBOC policy, I think, is ready to go, making sure that our harassment policies are as up to date as they can be. Bullying policies are up to date as can be, and also the policy by which we review instructional materials. I think it's really timely and urgent that those in particular get looked at. And also perhaps in the next superintendent's report, just updates on Helms and Kennedy staffing and what's going on there, coverage, so that we can get an update on what's going on at those schools. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to trustee Phillips.
Thank you. First, I want to back up to the Promethean item. So I went back and there's a document attached to the agenda titled Promethean Active Panel Report Fall 2023. And the 100% schools are listed there. I'm going to read them very slowly. And the number is actually 17. It's Collins, Ford, Grant, Harding, Lupine, Perry's, Riverside, Sheldon, De Anza, Hercules Middle, Hercules High, Kennedy, Soskin, Chavez, Lincoln, Montalvin, and Verde. Those schools are listed in that report on the second page. The next 9 schools that are listed in the agenda, and this is on the face of the agenda: Dijon, Helms, Ellerhurst, Fairmont, Hannah Ranch, Shannon, Stewart, Valley View, and West County Mandarin. These schools that I just read, this list that I just read, came directly from the agenda. The reason that I'm bringing this up is if we are going to be able to move forward, some things have to be facts. Everything cannot be of somebody's opinion. Now, whether the rollout is happening equitably, that can be a matter of opinion. But the schools that are on this list are not a matter of opinion. Those are facts. And sometimes to have honest debate, we actually have to agree on facts. The second thing that I want to point out to the group is I want us to think about legacy. And it's not about us. I don't mean it in that sense. But this is a transitory job. We will not be here forever. None of us will, board members nor staff. I want people to think very hard about when they are no longer here, what they hope the community will think of them and what they accomplished during their time here. And I'm doing this myself as well. But if anyone, whether it's a board member or staff, does not know that it will line up, I challenge all of us to work in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have comments? Okay, we'll go trustee Christian and then clerk Swinfels.
I just want to say, happy November the 1st to all of us. You know, this year went by quick and it's almost over. I just want to say is that last week I attended an event at King School, a trunk or treat, and donated some candy for the students, for the kids. And it was a nice activity on last Friday. And on yesterday, I attended Steve's school, and the students over there had their costumes on, and they marched around, and so it was cool. So it was good. It bring back old memories, because King School was a school I went to as in elementary, and I remember that time being out there on the yard with my costume on. So it brings back memory. But yeah, it was a good event. And then also I want to say is that I'm an alumni of Kennedy High School. I graduated from Kennedy. All my family went to Kennedy, and all of my family went to Kennedy. And we are, the Christian family is real deep in Richmond. So just to say that is that I care about Kennedy, and I wouldn't do the things that I do, and I care about our students. And I love our students because I care, because I want to see all of our students go to the next level. And I didn't give up my job at El Cerrito High School as a safety staff to get on this board, but I've seen a lot over the years. I've been an employee in this district, and I've seen a lot over the years, and I know what's right and I know what's wrong. And I want to stand for what is right and do the right thing and do it to the best of my ability. I just want to say to our students with the information that was given about the tablets and the things, Keene School was not mentioned in that, or Stage, but equitable has to be, across the board, because, we can't have all of them in one particular area. So what I'm saying is tonight is, we as a board, we have to really work together and make things happen the right way and do it the right way. Just based on a lot of things I see, I just wish, man, it's just a lot. But this year will be over in a minute, and we'll be facing January, and March will be here in a minute. And we have a lot of decisions to make, a lot of things that we got to do. And, we can't, chill. We got to be proactive. So my words tonight, these are my words. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Smith Foltz.
Thank you, everyone. President Gonzalez-Hoy, thank you again for a very efficient meeting. We are getting out in a very good time to celebrate Trustee Christian's birthday. Happy birthday, Trustee Christian. We are in week 12 of the school year. I think that Trustee Christian is right. It's going to go very fast, and it's going very fast. So we need to make sure that as a board, we're keeping up with the pace of what's happening, because it is, again, in a blink of an eye, we'll be in the next school year. We're taking the long journey to March. We all know that. And I think as a district, we need to continue to do that with transparency and honesty. I want to take a minute to say thank you to the Budget Committee under the leadership of the Superintendent, President Gonzalez-Hoy, and with the guidance of CBO Moses. Thank you so much. You are doing an incredible job of making sure that everyone that's in that room and watches that Zoom understands where every dollar goes and what we can do, and really moonshot thinking is happening in that room. So I want to say thank you to that. I want us to, thank you to Trustee Reckler for going to that conference. I'm assuming I didn't go because it was on an airplane and I have kids. That's my assumption, is why I didn't go to that, but I don't know. You can remind me of that, but I think it's because I have kids in school, so I probably didn't go because of that. I want us to talk about our policy, procedures, and practices. I think they all have to be through an equity lens, an anti-racist lens, and a zip coding lens. We are zip coded in this district, and we all know that. So we need to have those conversations, but they can't be isolated. They have to be conversations that we have as a board and that we have with the community. So I urge everybody on the board to attend the board retreat on November the 13th when we're talking about anti-racism, because that's a space that we can create to talk about this very thing and how we as a district look at our policy, our procedures, and our practices to literally combat racism in our district. So everyone that's on the board, I urge you to make sure that you're going to that retreat, because it's there for us to have these spaces to talk. Finally, I want to talk about Ruby Bridges. The Ruby Bridges Walk to School is on November the 14th. You will be hearing me comment on that several times up until November the 14th. Please reach out to your school. The event is where you walk to school in honor of Ruby Bridges, the 6-year-old African-American girl who integrated the first school in Louisiana, first all-white school in Louisiana. Finally, this week is parent-teacher conferences in elementary school. Parents, it's vital that you go to those parent-teacher conferences. Go and learn about what's happening in the classrooms. Go and look at a Promethean board. Go and have some engagement with your teachers. Go and find out what your teachers need, and go and find out where your student is. Make sure that you're asking questions about literacy and their literacy rates, and then their how they're doing in math and all their other subjects and their behavior. This is a time to do it. President Gonzalez-Hoy, thank you. That is my time. I'm complete.
Thank you, Clerk Smith-Folds. Trustee Cypress, do you have comments? Go ahead.
I'd like to start off by saying that I appreciate the board's dedication to creating a efficient process for the meeting today. And it really has felt like an expedited school year. It's already November. It felt like October just like passed by. And as a high school senior, it does as we progress through the school year, I feel as though it really does make me happy to see the school board improve as time goes on. Being in this district since I was in middle school, I've seen improvements, and I appreciate the board for acting on those changes that are brought to their attention. Thank you to everyone here who just made this a great process. Thank you.
Thank you. For my comments, I actually want to follow up what Trustee Cypress was just talking about. I think that we have become a pretty efficient board to a lot of extent, and I think that just the last 6 months we have been getting out and really great times. I think that the last few leaderships on our board have implemented things that each leadership has increased on. And I think that it has led to being able to have board meetings where we're getting out at 8, but still being really thoughtful about what we're talking about. With that, I don't want us to take a step back. I want to encourage the whole board to attend your one-on-ones. I encourage the board to ask questions before we come, because we are pulling consent items that honestly should not be pulled at the meeting if we have those questions answered. Because I think that staff puts a lot of effort into everything that comes to us. If you're doing it because you want to ask a question in public because someone asked you, that's different. But if you were not able to get that question answered for the meeting, that continues to make us inefficient. So I ask all of us to do that before the meetings, especially because we are having to do a lot of meetings this year. We're going to be doing a lot of special sessions. For example, the next week, we have our special session on facilities. We're going to talk about Kennedy High School and Richmond High. And as a respect to staff, they need to know what we're going to ask, what we're going to bring, even if it's giving them a heads up. So I encourage all of us to continue to do that, because I think that's what created us being so efficient. And I think that if we continue those practices, whoever takes on our role, to Trustee Phillips' point, whoever takes on for the board at whatever point, they continue to be efficient because we have those procedures. If there's something that's stopping you from going to one-on-ones, please talk to me so we can fix that. Because I think that some of you have made it really work. I want to thank Trustee Phillips and staff for making it work for you, because I know that during certain times, because you work late, it wasn't possible, but not all of us are attending. So I encourage all of us to do that. And I want to congratulate Trustee Christian. Happy birthday to you, sir, on another year on Earth. And this last few days, I've been attending a lot of events at schools, and I'm just really thankful for the work that's happening at our sites, Dr. Hurst. I've seen a lot of students who are just so happy to be at school. I had a conversation today with a parent at a teacher conference that told me that their kid, for the first time, and he was only in 3rd grade, but that family was really happy to attend our schools for the first time in the last 4 years. So I think that speaks about the work happening across our schools. I know we have a lot more to do, but I just wanted to also express that. So thank you so much. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a special board meeting next week, November 8th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at Dijon Middle School to talk about facilities, specifically Kennedy and Richmond High. Then we have a board retreat on November 13th. I don't remember the time for that. but board will email you. And then our next regular board meeting is on November 15th. So we have a board meeting every week as a reminder. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I am adjourning us at 8:16 p.m. Thank you so much.